Welcome everyone to my first video on SVG tutorials and Inkscape basics. This is the first video in a series that I think will be a lot of fun and very informative. I'm really excited to start this tutorial process, and I want to make sure that you have fun as you learn how to make SVGs in Inkscape. Inkscape is a free open source program, so no need to buy anything. Just go to inkscape.org and download your copy. That way you can follow along and learn Inkscape with us. Also, the fonts that I will be using come from fontbundles.net. I always get my fonts from there because they come with the commercial license, and I know any font that I get from there is safe for me to use in my SVGs to sell digital copies. I have my shops on Etsy and on Design Bundles. I also have one on the Hungry JPEG that I don't really show enough love to because I feel like the sales just aren't there. But Design Bundles and Etsy both have been good to me as far as SVG sales. And if you learn and follow along with my tutorials, I think that you'll be able to open up an Etsy shop and a Design Bundle shop probably sooner than you would think is possible. So I don't know where everyone is starting as far as educational wise with how much you know about Inkscape, so I will just assume that whoever's watching is learning for the first time. So I'm sorry if you are already a little bit more advanced. Those videos will be getting more advanced as we move on, but right now this is our first one, so we're going to go over really basic things right now. So when you first open up your Inkscape, this is what you will see. It opens up with this page border, and this is your typical 8.5 by 11 page. If you don't want that, what you can do is come up here to File, go down to Document Properties, and then you'll see Border down here, and just untick the Show Page Border, and that disappears. Some people don't like it. I choose to use it as a guide, so I like it. I'm going to go ahead and tick it right back, bring it back up, and then click the little X up here to get rid of this box. You don't want to click the big X because if you do, it's going to close all of Inkscape, and you don't want that to happen. So to move the whole page like I just did, hold your mouse wheel down and just move it, and the whole page will move. So what I do is I make my SVG outside of the page border so the lines don't get in my way. So today we're just going to do a basic text SVG. So go ahead and click on the A over here. That's going to be your text tool. You want to click on that. Go up here where it shows the names of the text. You can use the drop-down menu and choose whichever text you want to use. You got to excuse my computer. It's slow sometimes. So here's all my fonts. And I know all those are good to use in my SVGs because I know where they all came from, which is Font Bundles. So I know I'm good with that. And here's Gold Bullion, and that's the one I will use. And I'm just going to do something simple. Let's just write something like, welcome to our home. And when you first type it out, get in the habit of looking down here, right underneath your colors. Let's go ahead and pick the select tool first. Okay. You see, you know you're on the select tool because you'll see the little dotted box around it with the arrows pointing out everywhere. So go ahead and click on that with the select tool, which you just typed. Go on the bottom and you'll see where it says text. See right here, this is a really good habit to get in the habit of looking down here to see just exactly where you're at and what Inkscape is seeing what you're doing as. So this is showing as a text. We don't want a text because Cricut and Silhouette and the other cutting machines only cut files, and the files that the Cricut cuts, which is what I'm used to, and Silhouette Cameo also does the same thing, is the SVG files. That's the most popular files with our craft cutting machines. So we want to change the text into a path. So right now, this is an object in Inkscape. It's a text object. So what we want to do is go up here to Path, And then the first line is object to path. So we want to change this object to a path. Click on that. And now if you look down here, you see how it says group of 16 objects? Now it's seeing this or reading this as a group of 16 objects. And the reason it's 16 objects is because that's each letter. There's 16 letters, and that's what it's reading. So it's no longer text. According to Inkscape, it's now 16 objects. What we want to do, we don't want to keep the 16 objects because when you cut it in your craft machine, it's going to cut each letter separately because they're not connected. We want to connect them all so the craft machine reads it as one object. So in order to do that, go ahead and come up here to Object, Ungroup. So we want to make these little 16 objects individual. And that's what we did. Now it's not a group of 16 objects anymore. Now it's just the 16 objects. And let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit. And to zoom in, I'm pressing the plus sign on my keyboard. And to zoom out, you would press the minus sign. So I'm pressing the plus sign to zoom in. And you can see where it's the little individual boxes around each letter. Okay? So that's what we want. Now that it's separated, go to Path and Union. It's going to union it together. So now it's unioned together. It's one object now. Now when you put this in your craft machine, if you send this to your craft machine, it's going to read it as one unioned object. So it's going to go ahead and cut out the whole thing altogether rather than individual letters. Everything will be cut the same. Now, Inkscape runs on what we call nodes. So underneath the text, underneath the selection arrow is another little arrow with little boxes at the tip of it and to the sides. Click on that. That's your node editor. And you can see when I click on this, do you see how the red outlines? Oops. When I just glide over this, you can see the red makes it all one object. If you look at the red outline, you can see how the U goes right into the A. The H is separate, of course, and then everything is unioned together. Now, if I want to see the nodes on it, you click on this. Now, nodes are just, every time you see one of these little gray boxes, let me get a little bit closer. When you see the gray boxes, that's where your machine blade is going to go down to cut. So it's going to go down here, cut to here, and then come down again, cut to here. So this is a decent amount of nodes, I guess. You can make it a little bit less if you want a smoother and faster cut. So like this one right here, you could just click on it, left click with the mouse, and click delete on your keyboard. Now you see how it changed it? It went in a little bit. If you want to bring it back to where it was, this is called a handle. So the gray boxes are the nodes, and these are the handles. Just bring it out a little bit more. And this one too. And the handles will come out from the nodes. So if you want to get rid of some of these extra nodes, a lot of times if it's on a straight line, it's not needed. Like these two, it's probably not even going to change the letter at all. There we go. So you can just kind of play with it, do as much as you want with it. Some people sit here forever and just get rid of all the extra nodes. This one, like I said, it's not really bad, but it's not really good either. So just get rid of whatever you want to get rid of. I'm just going to get rid of a few just to show you here. That moved a little bit, so I'm going to take this handle and move it out. And now you see how it's trying to connect to your handle to cusp node. It's saying the handle's trying to connect to this node. We don't want it to do that because it's forcing us to do something we don't want. So in order to turn that feature off, go to the top. You see how this is highlighted right underneath File. You'll see this little node box. It's highlighted light blue. Unclick that. That box is enable snapping. The handle is trying to snap onto this node, and we don't want that. It's just going to force you to do something you don't need to do. It's going to mess up your design. So again, you can just go ahead and keep getting rid of some of the nodes in order, again, to have a smoother and a faster cut. That one didn't really affect it much. These are straight lines, so I know these nodes will come off without even interfering with really anything. It just made it a little bit smaller. I'll go ahead and take that off. Usually what I look for is things, maybe nodes that are too close together, like these two. There's no need for that. Just get rid of one of them. These three, this one's on the straight line, the middle one, you can get rid of that. It's not doing anything. And when it's on curves or points, just leave them, because if not, let me show you what's going to happen. If you click on this and try and get rid of it, see, it gets it all crazy. Now, when you do that and you say, oh no, what did I just do? Just hit Control and Z. Control Z will go back and let you do a redo. Control Z and then Control Y will bring it back to where you were. See? So forward and backwards. Let me do Z again, Control Z. And let's go ahead and just erase that, get rid of that. Now these two, we can go ahead and get rid of that one. See, that one kind of brought in more than what I wanted. I'm going to press Control Z and I'm going to go back and just redo that. It's not worth it to go ahead and have to put it back the way it was. That one's okay. That one changes too much. Control Z, get rid of it. So I think I'm going to leave the rest of these. This E, you can get rid of it. Again, it's not a necessity. You don't have to. Sometimes you'll see objects or text that have nodes. Every little space is node, 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 node. That is something you do not want. I'm sure that we will come across something like that. And if we do, I'll show you how to get rid of that. But that you do not want that. This isn't bad. See, I could get rid of this. Now I'm nitpicking. I don't really need to do any of this. Like I said, this was fine with the amount of nodes that are in it, but I just wanted to show you how you can get rid of them if you want. Now see this W right here looks kind of crazy, a little bunch of nodes. Let's go a little bit closer and see what's going on here. Okay, it's just some of them close together. Did that change too much? We'll keep that back like it was. Let's get rid of this one. You want to go where there's the least amount of change to your overall font, because we want to keep it the way the font creator intended it, because these are really good, like best in the world font creators, and they know what they're doing. So we're going to trust them and go ahead and keep their fonts the way they intended them to be. So let me go back to the selection tool, which is the top arrow, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a little bit. Again, holding down the mouse wheel, I'm going to move the whole page just to get my little page border back in. And now I'm going to left click and drag this over here. Now, if you can see, if this was a page, my design is going off on both ends of the page. We don't want that, because if you intend to sell SVGs in the future, you want to get in the habit of doing it right and correct in the beginning. That way it's a habit and you just do it. So when you do sell SVGs, you want to sell a file that includes an SVG file, a DXF file, which is some silhouette machines still use that, an EPS file, and a PNG file. That's kind of like customary files. A lot of people are doing away with the EPS files and even the DXF files. But for a PNG, the PNG is going to come out just like this. This will be the border of the PNG file. This page looking outline will be the border of the PNG file. So we want to make sure that's inside. So let's go ahead and make sure you hold down the Control key, grab this top corner arrow, and go down to minimize it. Let me zoom in so you can see a little bit better. Okay, again, you want to hold the Control key whenever you move any of these arrows. If you want to keep everything looking right and you don't want it to get distorted, make sure you have the Control arrow down as you move it. You see how it keeps it all the same? Now let me show you what happens when I take my finger off the control button. There we go. See? And it goes crazy and you don't know what you're going to end up with. So let me go ahead and Control Z, go to before I did that. And this is what we want. So I have it sized to fit my page. Now I'm ready to save it. I go to File, Save As. Welcome to our home. You want to save it as a plain SVG file and save. Don't save it as an Inkscape file, because if you do, there's going to be extra information on that file that Cricut will try and read, and it may mess up your file. A lot of people have said they have no problems so saving it as an Inkscape file, but just to be safe, save it as the plain SVG. So now you have an SVG file. So if you were following along, you just made your first SVG. So let's go back here to Cricut. And I believe I already uploaded one. Yeah, let me go ahead and cancel this. I wanted to make sure I tested it and make sure everything was coming out good here. And I'm going to press new and replace that and upload it. Let me go ahead and get rid of the older one that I had. Delete this. Am I sure? Yes, I'm sure. And I will upload it. And I named it Welcome to Our Home. So I'm going to scroll down here. Welcome to our home. You'll see it's the icon of your internet browser. So it's going to probably either have the the Chrome icon or Internet Explorer icon. Okay. Welcome to our home. Save this. Press here, insert, and you should have no problem at all as you load it into your Cricut design space. And same with Silhouette and other cutting machines. So there we go. Welcome to our home. Make it up at the top right, the green button. And there it is. And your machine's going to cut it out. So you could write, you could do names of spices or flour and sugar, pantry items. You could do names of your children or your grandchildren and personalize things. All kinds of things just by the lesson that we had today, which is just showing your basic text SVG. So I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something today. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, or you can ask me on my Cricut group, Cricut Obsessed. I will be happy to help anybody with any of the questions, and if you have any suggestions for upcoming videos, or if there's a certain design you want me to do, I'll be happy to do that in the future. I'm going to probably try and do 1 to 2 videos a week. So right now you could go ahead and practice on doing these text SVGs, and then you'll get a little bit more comfortable with Inkscape, and then we can move on to the next subject. So I will also put the links to my SVG shops in Design Bundles and Etsy at the bottom in the description box, so you can check out my style of making SVGs and kind of get an idea of what we'll be learning in the future. So don't forget to get your Inkscape copies and your fonts from the links below, and please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my videos and we keep this tutorial session going. So have a good day, everybody. Very happy to be here with you, and see you next time.